My name is Sarah Mirk. I'm a comics journalist, which means I'm a journalist who makes nonfiction comics, stories about real life. And I'm the author of Guantanamo Voices. Guantanamo Voices is an illustrated anthology that collects oral histories from Guantanamo Bay Prison. So I interviewed 10 different people who have spent time at the prison in different capacities, including prisoners, lawyers, former service members, and then asked a different artist to illustrate each of their stories. So each chapter has its own perspective, as well as its own visual voice. And together, hopefully, they make an oral history of the prison that make it easy for people to understand what happened and why. All of prisons in the United States are like invisible by design, or meant to be so, out of sight, out of mind. And there's no prison where that's more true than Guantanamo. It's literally on a military base in a different country. And it's very difficult to get there. And that's by design. Keeping the prison out of sight helps keep it out of the American consciousness. It's not a place that we have to think about as Americans. It's not somewhere we walk by every day. It's literally in Cuba. And so I think with comics, you can help make this place feel real. I wanted the artists to make this place feel as real as possible, to show what it looks like, to show what people are doing there, to create this sense that like, yeah, this is a place that our government really doesn't want you to see or think about, but here it is, and here's what it looks like. And it's an actual place full of actual people. Comics have unique power to create empathy with readers because you're actually seeing the people's faces, you're seeing what they're wearing, you're seeing what they're eating, and comics are really good at creating an emotional reality. So comics can capture the emotions of a moment or a place or a time through color, through the line work, and show here's what this person is feeling. And that's really important for creating that empathetic connection with readers, which I hope helps humanize these stories, helps readers think of the people who are incarcerated there as actual people with feelings, and here's what they were going through at this time. A lot of the government's narrative around Guantanamo has been one of dehumanization and stigmatizing the people who are in the prison. So right when the prison first opened, the Bush administration painted the people who were put in there as evil, as basically animalistic, as people who hated America and were willing to do anything to kill Americans. And when you have that mindset that the people are not actually people, then we don't have to follow the laws that we follow for other humans. I wanted Americans to understand like the whole history here and how things got to be the way that they are. And I thought that telling that story from 10 different perspectives would help people understand that full picture. Some of the stories in the book are very kind of like factual and straightforward. I'm thinking of ones that are told by lawyers, and they're kind of like, here's my experience. Other ones are deeply emotional. The stories that are told by the prisoners in the book are very raw, they're poetic, they have a lot of violence in them, and that's just a different emotional tone to capture. The book starts out with Mark Fallon, who was former NCIS officer, who actually helped set up Guantanamo's interrogation program. And for me, it was really important to start out with him because he was somebody who was pro-Guantanamo when it started. He worked as somebody who tried to find people who committed terrorism around the world and interrogate them. And when he first heard that Guantanamo was opening, he was like, that's a good idea, let's get those guys. And then he came very quickly around to the belief that what we had done here was a terrible mistake. And this was actually something that violated not only our laws, but basic human morality. And so to start off with that perspective, like not just coming from somebody who has always been, anti-Guantanamo, but somebody who believed in this mission, and to see how that mission went horribly, horribly wrong, I think helps Americans who might support Guantanamo or who think this is a good idea or who have really absorbed the government's narrative that this is a necessary place, rethink that and question that. One of the big issues with reporting on Guantanamo is access to the prison is highly censored. As a journalist, you have to apply for special permission to go there, and you're not even allowed to interview anybody who's currently incarcerated there. So you can't kind of just go where you want, talk to people, and see how the prison actually works. It's a very tightly controlled situation where the government says, here's what you can take photos of, here's what you can't take photos of. You definitely can't talk to the people who are actually imprisoned. What comics can do is help get around censorship. because if there's something that we can't get a photo of, I can ask the artist to imagine what it looks like based on whatever research we have, but they can use their creativity to fill in the gaps. With comics, you can also travel through space and travel through time. So we can go back 30 years and pick something that happened 30 years ago right next to something that's happening today and help create that link between the past and the present on just one page. I want people to understand that this prison was made by people during my lifetime, and it can be unmade by people during our lifetime. We really get into kind of a trap with Guantanamo of thinking like, how can it close? What's the process? Like, is it ever gonna happen? And like, it absolutely can happen. We made the prison open, we can make the prison close. And it just takes that political will and that desire to reckon with what we've done and create change.